Hi everyone, welcome to the seventh session of base SAS session. Uh, this session will be sequel to our chapter 6, what we covered, that reading data from raw data files, and we discussed about uh, structured file and non-structured non-structured data and structured data in session 6 session. So we'll continue with the same discussion here in seventh session, and we'll talk about that how to read raw data files with formatted inputs, how to control the record loads that when data is being fetched from raw data files to the SAS, then how we can control that. Then we'll talk about on functions or options like Missover, then single trailing and double trailing, what this tag means. I know that you might not have any idea about it, but we'll discuss in detail. Then I'll tell you that what this is all about, and then how we create data set by using column input. So we did discuss that how to create data set by using list input and input statement. But now here we'll be discussing about creating data sets using column input. So let's getting started. So the first thing which we are going to talk about is that how to read data files or raw data files with formatted inputs. All right. Now, till now that what we have discussed or what we have covered so far is that we have learned that learned and read from raw data files. We use straightforward input in list input. So I can show you that what we did in the last session here. We used these data lines and we used in file statement to fetch data from the text files. Now, in the same row, we are going ahead and we'll talk about that how to use the further options in the same process. So values were read sequentially in order they were entered, right? So what basically this is, we have been main focusing till the last session that we need to give the name of variables in same order as they are in the raw data file, right? Now let's see that we are going to see how we can control the way SAS reads the raw data files. Because if we do not mention any option, we do not give any controlling statement to SAS, it will read one by one or in the same sequence as the data is in the raw file, right? If column 1 is at the first position and column 2 is the first position, so SAS will read column 1 and column 2. But when we say about controlling the load, so we can ask SAS to read the column 2 first and then it will read the column 1, right? It's all up to us that how we want SAS to work. So in this chapter, we will be using files stored at this like text01, text02 and text08 and input pointers. As SAS reads raw value, it keeps track of its position with an input pointer. Okay, what is input pointer? I'll tell you, but before that let me just create the backup of these text files. So let me take these text files from my location where I have saved them. So I need to go to this content folder first. All right. I have all the files, those text files here, so I'll take a backup of them so that we know we can use these files into our examples. All right, let me paste all the files here. That's good. Okay, now let's say that what is input pointer. We just saw that what is input pointer. So as SAS reads raw data values, it keeps track of its position with an input pointer, right? So let's say let me just open one of the text files. We have these many text files here, and let's say if I open this, so whenever I'll run this text file and SAS will start reading it, it will keep a track of input pointer. Input pointer is nothing but the position of value in it. So if I talk about this one, this is the first position. If I go here and I say that count this, so this would be like 1 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this would be the 7th position, right? So as every single character length we move forward, so the pointer's value gets changed. Okay, so this is what we are going to track in like when we'll be controlling SAS to input data or load data, right? So you need to take care of the input pointer in order to make sure that what value you want to get loaded into the data set. So they said the file text01 contains information about discounts, and the variable have been specified as per the following columns are customer type. So they have given a value that 1 to 4. Okay, so customer type, then offer date. So that is from 5 to 12. What I mean 1 to 4 is when we say that 1 to 4, it means from position 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. So first 4 characters you see, this is the customer type, right? Then from 5th to 12th, it means this character is the date. And then from 12 to 21, they are talking about item groups, that is outdoors. And then last 22nd to 24, that is discount, that what is the discount given to it. Okay, so this is exactly what we are going to do now, that we have given a length because we know that what is the column or the length for each value or the column what we are going to use. So now we have know that what pointer should we use. So how do we read this information and create a SAS data set? Now that is a good question basically. So let's see that what we are going to do now. General form of input statement with the formatted input would be that input pointer control variable for and format. So pointer control, then variable, and then in format. So this is what the basic syntax is, what we use, that we use input statement or input keyword, then we give the pointer, input pointer, that from which location we want to start, and then variable name, and then if there is any in format, then we use that in format. Formatted input is used to read the data values by moving the input pointer to start position of the field, naming the variable, and specifying an in format. So input, they have given an example that what we can write is input at 10 higher date, and date 9 dot is the in format for higher date. And what would be the position from which it would start reading that column? That would be at 10. Okay, so the above statement says move the input pointer to the 10th position and input the next 9 characters and assign it to the variable higher date. So it's pretty clear that input the next 9 characters and assign it to the variable higher date. But before that, move to the pointer position 10th. The value is in the date 9 dot format. It must be converted automatically to the standard value. Okay, so this is how these pointers are going to work in your SAS program whenever we use our code. So let's see, I'll move ahead. It says column pointer controls. Column pointer controls. Column pointer controls @n. This is what we use basically. Moves the pointer to column n. So you need to make it sure that whenever you give the give a instruction to SAS that which column to read, you need to use @n. It would be the position from where the pointer will begin. Now plus n moves the pointer to nth position. Alright. Now an in format specifies the following: the width of the input field and how to read the data values stored in the field. Okay. So basically I said the formats for the SAS system are called in format. So you need to think of that and it would be autoclear. So it says that by using the column pointers to read our data, we use the following code. Okay. Now what code basically they are going, you can see into the input line, and rest I'll tell you. So in input line they said that code, and then they said 4 dot. 4 dot is nothing but the length, or you can say the in format for code. So it will read the first 4 characters for code. I have not given any input pointer, so that it will start from 0 or 1, right, the first position, and it will read just the 4 characters into the code column. Then the pointer will move to the at 5, means the 5th position, and from there it will read offer date, and in what format, that mmddyy 8 dot. All right. Then I have written that at 14 item group. So then pointer will go back to, go back, or it will move forward to the pointer position 14, and then it will read the item groups and for 8 character length, and at last it will move to position 22nd and read the discount percentage for 3 length. Okay, so this is how this code is going to work. So let me just use the same. Let me go back to SAS window. I have deleted the old code for the yesterday session. Now let's see. I need to write data and data name. So for that I need to give name, or I need to give the reference to my library. So I'll say Satya, and then I'll say offers. Okay, then I'll use in file statement, and in file statement I need to declare, or I need to give the location of my file. So that would be same as this, and my file is going to be text01.txt. and then I need to give the input statement. So let's say that let me just go back to the file. I'll open it. Okay, so now in this file they said that first column is code, so I will give it a name code, and then in format for this code. So they said that the first 4 characters are supposed to be the code. So I'll say 4 dot, it would be the in format for code. Then I'll move my cursor to 5th position. Okay, so I'll say at 5, and from this position this is the date. Okay, 1 2 3 4. Okay, it has 8 characters, right? So I will say, let's say offer date, and its in format will be colon, then I'll take its 8, right? So it would be mmddyy dot. This is the in format for the date, and then I'll take offer type. Okay, for offer type my pointer should move to at position 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13. Okay, it should go to the 15th position. So as per my code, it should move to the 14th position. So I'll write 14, and then I will say it's discount percentage. So discount percent, right? And what is the in format for it? It will be percentage. So nothing, but I will give a length of 3. Okay, so I have given in format for this as well. There is no commas, it is by default space, so there is no delimiter I need to define. I will just use run statement, and let's see that what it's gonna print. So proc print and then run. I'll run this code. Let's see that what happens. Now you can see that I have got the data set created in my code column. First of all, I have 4 characters, 4 numbers. Then offer date we have a date, but it is in a very different format. So you can say that initially I told you, or I told in the 6th session, that SAS do not recognize the dates. It recognizes those dates as in number. So it has converted the date format into this number. Now then offer type, it was basically character. Okay, and this percentage was also a character because a special character was assigned to it. But in the definition I did not say that. That is why I have got a missing value here. So in order to remove these missing values or get the correct values, I need to correct the code, and I will have to mention that these are the character type. So I need to use $sign here. Similarly, this. And then if I run my code and go back to check, now you can see that I have got the values. Okay, but still something is wrong with the data. Okay, what? That in the discount percentage I have got these values. It means what could have happened here? The main reason of this is that I have not tell SAS or told SAS that from which position you need to count discount percentage. So that is why it had started from the at 14 only. So let's say offer type. For offer type, I need to use this 14 position. And for this discount percentage, I need to read the position here. This was 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So from 22, it will count the discount percentage. Now, as soon as you will run this statement now, you will have the correct values in the SAS. Okay, so this is how your data looks like here. And with this, let me see if it is possible that mmddyy8 dot, this is what the format they have used. If you use the same format in format for the date, let's see what kind of difference you're gonna get in your date. So that is still the same, so no worries. Let's go to the log window. Now you can see that exactly what is happening here. That 6 observation read from the data satya.offers procedure print this. And lrec, I'll talk about this, that what this lrec is. Lrec L is basically the length of record. Okay, so we'll be using this again in future, but right now this is how we have read the data with the formatting, or you can say we have read the formatted data from a text file. Okay, so this is this was a good example to see that how basically you are going to read the data from a text file. Now consider the raw data of file text02.txt found in file 3. Over here, suppose we are only interested in creating a data set containing name and marks. So as you see here, the marks come in different column. We use the code. Okay, let me before I go ahead, let me show you that what is the next file. So if I go ahead and edit this file, you can see that I have names here. Then we have, I guess, age, then gender, then marks, and then you have the marks. So you can see the data. It's very, it's strange, or I would say it's not written in a very good way as they are supposed to be written. Okay, so how you are going to read this data? That is again a challenge, but there is nothing impossible, right? You can read this data as well, but how? That we'll be doing in a minute. So it says that we use the following code, and what that code is, let me again go back and write the code for it. I'll reuse this code. I know that my sequence is going to be the same, location is going to be the same, but here I'll say marks, and my columns are going to change. So at the place of this, I'll just say name. Okay, let me remove it. Name, and I know that it is a character thing, so I'll use $sign, and then I'll say the position marks. I'll say marks, then it would be at what position it should go and count it. So for that I need to come here, and then I'll say for marks. Okay, now here you can see the position of marks is varying. I can see that here. Now here it is again, it's a bit forward. So the position of marks again, or I would say the columns position is not definite, it's moving, right? So in that case, I will say SAS to find this marks, and wherever it will find this, locate this marks, it will take the other two digits against it. Okay, so how to mention that in the SAS? This is what they are telling this, that go to this position where marks and this sign is. They will locate this location and then it will name that column marks. So this is how you are going to read it, but let's see that what it does for us. Okay, now you can see that they have just directly read the marks. So basically this input pointer, you can give the numbers as well, or if you have a identifier like marks column. So I have given this identifier here which has done the same job which I wanted that number to do for us, right? So basically in this situation I have not given a specific location that count from there. I have given it this identifier called marks. So for every row, SAS started reading this marks and column, and it went there and read the data for me, right? So this is how you can read the data like this. Again, it was unstructured data, but SAS, or when we look at the data, we found a way to import this into the SAS. Okay, so let's move ahead. So this code will move input pointer to the position after marks when the text is scanned. So till now we have been looking into the various things, how to read the data from files where the data is formatted or formatted input. But now we are going ahead and we see that how to control a record load. Okay, we have been controlling the columns till now, that which data to load and how data to load, right? Which data to load first and which data to load last. But now we are going to see how to control a record load. Okay, so now they have told that this consider the data in text file 3. So let's go to the location and I'll show that what kind of data we have in third example. So you can see that we have MS, Sioux, Ferry, 15 Harvey Road, Macon, GA. So it seems that we have a name and then address of a person, and I guess we have a phone number as well, right? So, and then we have a lot of information, like it could be address, city, and the postal code. Venkat Narayan, then 20, Ramchandra, Chennai 77, then phone number. So we have such address or name. It's again very different name. Until unless you will not read it correctly, you will not be able to recognize whether it is a name or what kind of information is saved in this file. Okay, so again what we are going to do is we'll be reading this data and we will try to save or store this data into one of the data sets. So how to do that? Let's see. Let's go ahead and see that. Okay. So they said that multiple input statements. What they said, that by default SAS. Okay, we have the following variable: name, address, line 1, address line 2, and phone number. However, they come in a different lines of raw data. Okay, so this is exactly what the data was like this. So multiple input statement. So the challenge which we have now, that we cannot read the data in one go. So that is why we are going to use multiple input statements. And it said that by default, SAS loads a new record into input buffer when it encounters an input statement. Okay, so you can have multiple input statements in one data step, and it has they have created a data set name, different lines. In file, they have taken the same file, the raw data file. Now input variable 1 in format, input variable 2 in format, variable 3, something like that. Then they have given input like 10, variable 4 in format, 20. So they have used the input pointers as well. And at the last they have used the run statement. What is the logic behind using such a syntax will cover as soon as we will use this our file, that text03. Okay, so each input statement reads one line of input and assigns it to the appropriate variable. The null input statement or input will load the text to the input buffer. However, the value will not be sent to the variable. What it said, each input statement read one line of input and assigns it to the appropriate variable. Now null input statement will load the text to the input buffer. However, the value will not be sent to the variable because in case of null there is no value. Alright. So basically in this case what they have done, because each variable is in a different line. So you need to write an input statement for each line, and then you can run all of them together in order to input your columns. So just like how column pointer controls move the input pointers to the different starting positions, we can use the line pointers control to control when SAS loads a new record. SAS loads the next record when it encounters a straight /. So the main point for entering the data which we just saw is this, that for a pointer control or input pointer control we have been using @, but for line control we will be using /. Okay, so they have just used that example, and for every input statement they have used a /. So what will happen, the control will move to the next line, and by doing so we can insert the value into our statement. Okay, so let's see, I will try to copy. Let me just copy this statement, and I will use here satya dot deflines. Here it will be turned into 3, and for this place we saw into the example that it has full name first, so I'll say name. It's a character, so I'll say $, and let's say the name in the file is this much long, or it could be this much long. So let's say, what is the maximum length? 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11 12 13 14 15. Okay, let's say 16. Let's say I'll take 20. All right, then after name we have address, so I'll use / and then I will write address. Again it's character, so I will say length of 20 again, and then we can go ahead and type in the /. So I have given 20 and then / and then our address too. So let's say address $20, and then I will use one more / for the phone number. So it would be phone, and we will use @ again, and let's say 20. So this is how we have taken all the columns. Right, now let me just run this and see the difference, what they have done in their example and what I'm going to do now. Let's see what kind of differences it creates. I have ran it. Now you can see in the log window it says one observation read from the data and Satya defline. So it read only one observation. And what is that? 15 Harvey Road, 20 Ramchandra, and this is the phone number. It did not read the other observation. It just read the 15 Harvey Road, this one, then 20 Ramchandra, this, and then this mobile number. So something went wrong. Let's see. The SAS loads the next record when it encounters the forward slash. Okay, so let's see that what happened here. After the full name, let me give a length of 30 because let's see. Okay, in our name there is a tab. Okay, so that is why it takes the complete length. Okay, let me change our length to 30 and I'll run that again. So that is why, I mean, that may be the reason that they have taken 30 in the example, but no worries. You need to see that what is the actual length of the data. That may be the reason, one of the reasons, but again, we can change it and we can look at it once again. Now again, it read only first record. So still the same. Now I need to go ahead and I need to use this AND as well. Let's see that what this AND does for us. Okay, this is the in format they have used, and now we have got all the records here. Okay, so and what this AND is doing, we'll talk about it again. But basically by using AND we have got all the 3 records here in the data. So see, the major challenge was that our data was in, whether it was a name, it was an address, or it was a telephone number, all of them were in a same column. It was an unstructured data, but by the use of this AND in format, which is the length, we have got the value in the required columns. All right, now let's move ahead. It says that the forward slash is known as a relative line pointer control. So you can keep in mind, and it's a very good option basically which is used in SAS. So forward slash is known as a relative line pointer control that moves the pointer relative to the line on which it is currently positioned. And there is also an absolute line pointer control hash that moves the pointer to a specific line in a group of line. So let us suppose you wanted to see, for example, in this here, first of all I have a name, then I have address 1, address 2, and then phone number. So let us suppose you want first to enter the telephone number and then address 2. So in that case we will be using hash, right? So hash will read the second line first and then it will move to the first line. So this is how we can change it. So I mean, for example, they have given the same example by using this absolute line pointer. So let's see, I'm also going to use that. So but this time at the place of slashes we will be using hash, this, and then the number that which line you want to read. Okay, so first of all I will go ahead and I'll say that read line 1, then I'll say read line 2, then here I'll say that read line 3, and for this we'll say that read line 4. Okay, so again let's say here I will say fixed lines. It's gonna create another data set, fixed lines, and you can see that we have got this data. It is similar to that, but now I will put a small difference. Okay, and what that difference will be, I'll tell you that in a minute. This is the address 1 and address 2. In all my examples it has been overwriting the column, so we have been getting only one address column. Okay, so it has to be address 1, address 2. Now I would say, let's say, just read the address 3 first, sorry, this address 2 first and then address 1. So as soon as we'll run this statement, you can see again both are address 1 columns. Now if I run this statement, you can find there are 2 columns, one is address 1 and another is address, and we have the complete address given here. Okay, but what happened, that in first case whatever my address 1 was, that has been turned into address 2. So if I run both the both the statements again, now you can see here, right? We have both the outputs right now in front of us. So in first case we had address 115 Harvey Road, but in the second case, okay, you can see the address is Sioux Ferrar. So we can correct this. Let me go back to SAS. It should be line, not line 3, line 2. So whatever value I am going to get now it's very easy for you. That here the line 2, what is 15 Harvey Road, I'm getting that into line in address, and whatever we got here in address column, that is here in the address 1 column. Okay, I've just swiped these numbers 3, 2 and then 4. So this was the fixed line pointers, and it by using this #1 you can directly go to the different lines from where you want to read the data. Okay, I hope it would be clear. It was very confusing, but it's very useful and very good to know this. Now the single trailing. The single trailing at holds a raw data record into the input buffer until the SAS does one of the following. What? It executes an input statement with no trailing and begins the next iteration of the data step. When you use the single trailing at the rate the following occurs, the pointer position does not change. No new record is read into the input buffer. Okay, so these are the concepts, and you need to read them properly. That the next input statement for the same iteration of the data step continues to read the same record rather than new one. Okay, now the single trailing is, again we can go through this, that it executes an input statements with no trailing at the rate and begins the next iteration of the data step. And when you use the single trailing at the rate, the following occurs. The pointer position does not change. No new record is read into the input buffer. The next input statement for the same iteration of the data step continues to the same record rather than the new one. So here we have a scenario in our text file 5. Let me open that file for you. Now you can see that we have some IDs of the codes, then we have country or USA, Europe, something like that. Then we have a date in different formats, and last I guess we have some number with dot or comma separated. So it says that it has following variable: sales ID, location, sales date, and amount. Okay, so some countries, or you can say that wherever we have a location called Europe, EUR, we have comma separated values, and where we have USA, we have decimal separated values, all the decimal values. So it has the following variable: sales ID, location, sales date, and amount. Now the sales date and the amount comes in a different format. When the location is USA, the date format comes like MDD YYYY format, and when location is EUR, the date is in date 9 dot format. So as location wise, it is a local data, basically the global data, but whatever data we have, that is a location wise. We get the location wise data, and for each location we have a different formatting of date and different formatting of amount. So consider the following code. It says data sales Q1, and how you are going to read that: input sales ID $4 at the rate location, and if location is USA, then input 10 sales in this format, else in this format, because right now we know that there are only two locations, either USA or EUR. So based on those locations, how we can input this data. So again, it's very, very important that how you are going to do it. Let me close it and I'll go back to my SAS window. you can see that here I'll need to change this into 5, and then at the place of input statements I need to change them into, it says that input sales ID $4 dot and @6. So this is the pointer which I have given for location. Okay, so it will read the sales ID from the data. My data is this. It will read the sales ID and then the location. So it would be location, and location will have a $sign because it's a varchar. Okay, I have given 3 characters for the location. $3 dot, and then first statement ends here. Now the condition that if my location, if location is equal to, it's USA, then input @10 is going to be sales date. And see, if location is USA, then I'll input my sales date as YY, and I'll take in format as 10, right? And I will pick up my amount from position 20, and for amount I have 7 dot. 7 dot is nothing but the format what it is going to take. So this is in case of USA. Else I need to input @10, and here I will take the sales date in a different format. What that format is going to be, that's date line, because initially they said that in case of EUR we have a different format, and in case of USA we have a different format. And then from @20 I will pick up the amount comma X and 7, right? And then I will run my proc. So basically this is how these because in each line it was dependent on the location, that what my date and amount is. It was varying, or the format of these things was varying as per the location. So we need to put a condition here that if my location is USA, and you can there is another clause to it, that why we have used if. We could have used where as well, but I told you that where is used when you are creating a data set from a data set. Okay, but if you are creating a data set from a text file or a raw data file, then you need to read the data by using if condition. So this is what we have done here. We are reading the data from a text file. So we have used if condition, and we have just got the data, and depending on the location we have put a condition that what to read and what not to read, and if read, then in what format it should be read. So I didn't get any result here. Let's see. Let me go to my, okay. I didn't change the data. Let me say 5th, and here I will create it again. It says no observation in dataset Satya.5th. What happened? It says that there is some error expecting one or more of the following: a name, numeric constant, array name, something like that. The symbol is not recognized and will be ignored. So something wrong happened with the code. What is that? If the location, okay, this comma should not be there. It has to be a dot. I found one error. But apart from this, what else is wrong? I need to run the code again and let's see. Okay, I have got the data set created this time. but there are some things which are not in the correct format. What? My date, you got a missing value here, and then amount, we have the missing value here. So how to correct them? That would be my main agenda. So let's say that this time, okay, the above code will give you an error as well as meaningless data since we have checked the condition. Whether it is true or false, SAS will load the next line of the data for the next value. To prevent that, we use the following, right? Now, the code which we have written, definitely it's giving us some error. So now what we are going to do is that we will be, at the place of the prior code, okay, at the that after location, until unless it will not read the other data, this add is going to hold this record, right? And if I run this and I'm changing the name to database, so it will create another data set. And let's see, I'll run this and see that what exactly happens here. Okay, so it ran. Again, it said that there is no observation in the dataset fifth one. Okay. Okay, let me see and run it again. Let's see that what happens. Expecting a ad. Okay, so it says that if location USA, then expecting a ad. All right, then let's see. First of all, it will read sales ID and the location, then add the rate sign. Okay, let me write one more at and let's see that what it does. Still the same, no observation, and at the place of this, then expecting an ad. Okay, so what basically happened, I was missing this semicolon after this at. So what will happen, first of all, it will read sales ID and then location. And then this add rate will not let these two records executed until unless SAS do not read the other values dependent on this location. So after this semicolon, as soon as I have run this, I have got this details, the sales date and the amount. So this is exactly what we were getting in the data set. All right. So this is how basically, we can, this was the single trailing. And now after this, we'll, talk about how can, see what we have just saw. First of all, we saw that how to hold a column. Then we saw that how to hold a line by using these pointer controls. And then we saw that how we can, do the single trailing, right? So in single trailing, basically we just took this our fifth example where we were getting the amount and date formats depending on the location. So this is this is how use these single trailing and the formatted data you can store into the data set. Now the next chapter which we are about to discuss is Missover, missing values at the end of a record. The data values in the text C have the following variables: first name, last name, and place. So let me show you the sixth data set. So you can see that in this data set, we have first name, last name, and the place. This is exactly what it's talking about. Last name, first name, and place. In some rows, you can see that we have place, and in some rows we don't. Venkat Naran, and we don't have the location here. Surya Bird, we don't have the location, but again here we have location. In some places we don't have even this last name. So this is how this data is designed. So by default we have there is a missing data at the end of a row. SAS does the following: loads the next record to finish the observation, writes a note to the log. Right? There are two things what SAS does, because SAS looks for a data for every variable, right? So if you do not mention anything, it will put the next value into the next column. I'll show you that how that works by default. Right now I have these values, and let's say that if I store them, let me take this query, and I will say at the place of 6 fixed lines, I will say sixth. Okay, here I'll change it to 6, and then I know I have the columns which are known as, first of all, first name, it's a character, then dollar sign. Then we have last name, again it's character, it means dollar sign, not the at the rate, it should be dollar sign. Okay, and last but not the least, I have place, PLACE, and again dollar sign. So if I run this, let's see that what's gonna happen. It created this data set for me. Okay, and now if you look into this data, you can see that Jacob, Matthew, and Egmo, you got the first record 100% correct. But in case of second record, I got Bankat, then Naran, and then Surya, which was the first name in the third record, got entered into the place, right? So due to the missing value here, which was supposed to be the place for second record, we got the first name of third record into place column. So what SAS did, it just read the next value and keep on accommodating that into the next available place. So this is what SAS does by default, right? I know that there is a missing value in the record, but SAS do not recognize that until unless we do not tell him or tell it. So now it has messed up with my data. There is no use of this data now. Okay, and it left this. I don't know that where this value gone, because I cannot see this in the data set. So to prevent such a situation, to prevent such challenge, what we are going to use is a word called Missover, right? This is what we are talking about, that Missover. We need to tell the SAS there is a Missover option, and the value which is missing, we can keep it as missing. The Missover option prevents SAS from loading a new record when the end of a current record is reached. Now, general form of the infile statement with the Missover option is infile, raw data file, and Missover. If SAS reaches the end of a row without finding values for all fields, variable without values are said to be missing. So I need not to do much with my code which I have written for it. I just need to mention here Missover. I have just written Missover, and as soon as I will run this statement again, you will see that Jacob, Matthew, Igmo, then Venkat, Naran, missing value, then Surya, Bird, then missing value. I've got this complete record, then Saranya, and then we have two missing values. So now I have got all the records as they were there in the text file. So this is the way how can we use Missover into the SAS code. Now if we type the following code, so this is what I have already shown you, that how can write it. So we just got the correct result, right? Now, consecutive delimiters in the list. So, see, in the last chapter, we discussed a lot about the delimiters, where to use DSD and where to use DLM option. So now it's continuation with the same, and let's see that what it's talking about, that by default, list input treats two or more consecutive delimiter as a single delimiter, right? And they are not treated as missing value. So when you will start working on SAS and you will come across such a situation, then you will get to know basically what this is talking about, that if there are two or more consecutive delimiters, then they are treated as a single delimiter and they are not treated as a missing value. Okay, but the DSD option for the infile statement does what this does for you, that it sets the default delimiter to comma, number one, default delimiter to comma, number two, treats consecutive delimiters as missing value, and enables SAS to read the values from embedded delimiter if the value is surrounded by quotation marks. So syntax would be nothing, same as in file DSD, and I did show you an example using DSD. So let's move to the next slide. Additional technique for list input, it's double trailing. We just saw the single trailing here. Now we are going to see the double trailing, that what this double trailing does for us. Okay. So here in this double trailing, what double trailing is, let's see. Double trailing holds the raw data record across iterations of the data step until the pointer moves past and the end of the line. Okay. Input variable 1, variable 2, and then 2 at the rates. The double trailing should be used only with the list input. Okay. So this is the condition, that you can use this double trailing with only list input. Note, the double trailing functions as the opposite of multiple input statement. So you might remember we did that multiple input statements. So it just works as opposite of that. Now multiple input statements, one observation, several raw data lines. Double trailing, one raw line and many observation. They have taken an example or the difference between single trailing and double trailing. Single trailing holds the raw data record until an input statement with no trailing, the next iteration of the data step. But this double trailing holds the raw data record into input buffer until SAS reads past the end of the line. Okay, so basically single trailing was for a one record, double trailing until unless that record does not get completed. So for single trailing, I told you the example of that location, that for location we use, if USA is the location, then we used to apply the condition on location and then the next value. So it was a single trailing and it was within a record. But when we talk about double trailing, that is for a complete record, and once this record gets completed or read by the SAS, then it moves to the next record. It says that single trailing and double trailing are mutually exclusive. It means they cannot or should not be used together. Okay. In both appear together in a same input statement, the last one specified is used. If you use both of them whichever would have been used in last, that will be used by SAS. The Missover option is invalid with double trailing. So you cannot use Missover with double trailing. Consider the file text 7. It contains one line with several observations. To read the data correctly, we use the double trailing. Okay. Now let's see that what this example 7 is all about. Okay, so we have a single line here, and you can see that black, gray, silver, white, red, gray, purple, red, white. I mean the list of the colors. But I really don't know that how many columns are there and how I'm going to read these values. So in that situation, what I need to do is I will write my syntax like this, what they have just mentioned here. let me change this query to, and I'll say color. I'll change the 9 to 7. I'll exclude Missover, and at the place of this input, in the input columns, I'll just take color as one column, and dollar as in character, and then the double trailing. So what this will do, until unless it will not find the end of the complete row, it will keep iterating it or holding the records. Okay, so it does in the same way. Now you can see that. Right? So this is where this is how you can use the single trailing and the double trailing. So I mean, we did cover a lot of important topics today, and these are, I would say that practice them again and again, because these gets very confusing when you are using Missover, double trailing, single trailing, and or how to how to read the data from the raw data. There are some other options as well, which we can use, that file and put, just like how to use in file, that in case of in file we get the data from a text file or the raw data file for the SAS. Similarly, file and put, they do the opposite for us. It means they put the data from data set and they show that into the output window. So file will create a raw data file and put will select the variables to which the raw data file. Now we can use the DLM option in the file statement, otherwise the default delimiter would be space. Now data null, because we don't want to create any data set. So that is why we are going to put the data into a text file. Now the statement data underscore null underscore will execute code without creating the data set. We can use this for testing code, testing PDV, or for creating an output text file. So consider the raw data file, this 80. It has a variable and it has values as following. Now to read the data properly, we use this code. They are using pad statement. Okay, so I'll show you this example, and then this file and put, I'll talk about this slide again in our next session, because right now that the stream which we were following, the double trailing, single trailing, Missover, in same way we have next thing, that is for our example number 8. Now you can see this data. Okay, sorry. So this data is tab delimited basically. Now in case of such a data, what we need to do is we need to just specify, or you can say that they have given a length as well, that 1 to 13 my full name, then post 17 to 28, then department 30 to 40, 33 to 40. So to read the data properly, we use the following code and this pad statement, right? Now over here, since the variables are in different length, we use the pad option. They are of the same length. We need not to use pad. Okay, padding is basically to pad the complete line, right? So let me just type in the code for you. This is my example 8. Now, what exactly this pad will do here? As if now, like I have given the length for my full name, the post, and the department. Irrespective of that, if you see in the example, right, the names they are very different. First of Jacob Massive, trainer, SAS, then Kasi Vishwane, trainer, then Mohammad Rafi HR, Surya Nadrai, and then Saranya. So we have, spaces here, but again, what I want that it should be, the proper length, what I have specified, that 1 to 13. So what this pad option will do for full name, it will capture everything from this length 1 to 13. That will always go into the name column. Post 17 to 28, whatever will come between 17 to 28, that will go into the post column, and whatever is between 33 to 40, that will always go into department column. So this is how this padding option works for you. So I have just created this, and let's say if I run this proc print, now you can see that I have got full name, post, and department. Padding just sets the full length which is mentioned here for each variable, right? So that's all for today, and I will recommend that do practice a lot for all these options, because they are confusing and they are used a lot in our day-to-day SAS life. Whenever SAS life, and I mean when you are working with SAS, so they are used a lot. So do practice for all these, and we will cover some advanced topics in our next session, which are where we'll be using these options again. So if you have any question, then let me know, or mail me at train2dataminers@gmail.com, or let Intelipat know. Till then, goodbye. Take care.